welcome to the debate. Today, we are dissecting the future of, one of the world's most enduring automotive entities, Chevrolet. As the entire industry pivots toward the software-defined vehicle, or SDV era, we have to look beyond the immediate product line and examine the foundational tension this pivot creates.
And it is a fundamental challenge, a challenge to decades of established tradition. The core question we're exploring today is whether Chevy's deeply ingrained identity, defined by its massive scale, its work-first utility vehicles, and its legacy products, is an inherent structural advantage, or if it represents a paralyzing liability in a future defined by rapid software-led innovation.
And I'll be arguing that Chevrolet's sheer scale, its deep historical market penetration, and the resilient nature of its customer loyalty provide the resources and really the stable foundation necessary to successfully execute this complex technological transformation.
And I come at it from a different perspective. I maintain that the sheer weight of legacy technology, the organizational complexity inherent in such a massive entity, and the unforgiving speed of software development represent critical liabilities that are intrinsically slowing Chevrolet's adaptation velocity.
Well, Chevrolet's stability is absolutely rooted in strategic history. If you look back to the 1920s, when Alfred Sloan took charge of General Motors, he deliberately positioned Chevrolet to become the volume leader for the entire corporation. His maxim was simple but powerful: a car for every purse and purpose. This legacy strategy of broad market coverage, from the high-end iconic Corvette to the essential rugged work truck, is its enduring non-replicable strength. The brand's appeal is based on tangible utility and proven ruggedness. This is best epitomized by the century-long rivalry for truck dominance, proudly sustained with slogans like America's Best Trucks. This fundamental focus on work means Chevy products, particularly the Silverado 1500, aren't just one truck. They are an infinitely configurable platform. They offer just a massive configuration diversity: multiple engine types, different transmissions, various bed sizes and cab configurations, and specialized trims, all optimized for superior towing. New entrants simply cannot match that breadth. Crucially, GM is executing this transition strategically. We're not seeing incremental updates. We are seeing major platform shifts. They were early movers with the plug-in hybrid Volt back in 2010 and the mass-market electric Bolt EV in 2016. Today, the commitment is evident in the comprehensive rollout of Ultium-based models: the Silverado EV, Blazer EV, and Equinox EV. For established players, especially in the commercial space, success relies on capitalizing on their existing advantages: a pragmatic, business-focused sales approach, deep industry knowledge, and established telematics experience, all things Chevy possesses.
That's a compelling argument based on history and platform investment, but I would frame the context differently. The rapid shift to SDVs means the automotive value chain is undergoing an irreversible restructuring. Analysis suggests the SDV market is projected to reach a staggering $1.2 trillion by 2030, and the core value proposition is shifting dramatically away from mechanical components, the traditional engine block and transmission, towards software and digital services. The size you champion as resilience often translates into institutional slowness and cost-cutting pressures that have historically compromised quality. We've seen decades of chronic issues, including the damaging practice of badge engineering, where vehicles were rebadged across GM divisions or even sourced from partners like Daewoo. Sure, it achieved volume, but it fundamentally risked devaluing the core Chevrolet identity. Furthermore, transitioning to a true SDV architecture is profoundly complex. It requires a complete overhaul of organizational structure, mindset, and technology. The passenger car sector has been struggling with this for over 5 years now, without fully realizing the expected returns. The true cost of this transition risk is visible in highly publicized operational failures. The expanded Chevrolet Bolt EV battery recall in 2021, for instance, required GM to accrue a total of $2.6 billion for associated costs. This wasn't a minor component failure, it was a fundamental quality control issue with a critical EV component. Mistakes of this magnitude in the high-stakes EV environment are simply too costly and immediately erode consumer trust, creating a financial burden that smaller, cleaner competitors just don't carry.
I see the financial hit of the Bolt recall, and I certainly don't diminish the impact on consumer trust. But I would argue that the $2.6 billion cost actually underscores my central point. General Motors has the financial stability and structural resilience to absorb an error of that magnitude and survive. A startup or a smaller competitor making a mistake that costs a fifth of their market cap would simply disappear. GM's scale is the flywheel that maintains operational continuity while they correct and innovate. And that strength is directly channeled into the technological backbone you mentioned, the Ultium platform. This modularity is leveraged strategically. It's what allows GM to execute the Sloan maxim in the electric age, enabling them to produce 30 different global EV models and target 1 million North American EV sales by 2025. They can cater to everyone, from the commuter to the contractor, all while maintaining affordability through economies of scale.
I'm not convinced by that, because that modularity, the very feature necessary to field those 30 diverse models, is an inherent strategic trade-off. It's a compromise. It means the Ultium approach is often a suboptimal solution compared to competitors who employ simpler, highly optimized architectures.
How so?
Well, consider cell-to-pack, or CTP designs used by focused, high-volume competitors. CTP eliminates the intermediary module enclosures found in GM's approach, allowing batteries to be integrated directly into the chassis. This results in superior energy density, reduced weight, and lower manufacturing complexity. GM's sheer need for diversity to power everything from a massive Hummer to a smaller Equinox forces them into a modular architecture that sacrifices the efficiency and weight savings that focus companies achieve. For a work truck, where every pound of battery weight reduces payload, that efficiency trade-off is critical. Furthermore, to truly succeed in the SDV space, GM has to develop its own software stack, which requires a fundamental cultural and personnel shift. This means they now compete for top-tier talent, not just against Ford or Stellantis, but against tech giants like Tesla, Apple, and Google. These companies offer highly agile work environments, different salary structures, and, well, they're not always located in Detroit. Attracting and retaining the necessary technical talent adds another extremely expensive layer of competition to their core business model.
But the reality is that the talent competition is unavoidable for anyone moving toward SDVs, and GM is actively addressing it. They're establishing new technology hubs in places like Austin and Silicon Valley and scaling internal programs. The ultimate point is that Ultium allows them to use their existing massive market breadth, their customer base, their dealer network, their financial stability as a structural leverage point for the transition. They don't have to build an entirely new customer pipeline from scratch, which is far more expensive and risky than funding a complex R&D push. They are leveraging existing strengths to solve future problems.
Even if you grant them the Ultium platform, we have to look at what they're trying to build and who they're building it for. Let's turn to the core identity. Work first. I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that the mechanical ruggedness that defined the small block V8 is sufficient for the future. The work-first identity, especially in commercial vehicles, demands an SDV approach even more urgently than passenger cars. Why? Because commercial operators are obsessed with the total cost of usage, or TCU, which factors in everything: fuel, maintenance, driver wages, and most importantly, vehicle uptime. To satisfy this market, you need complex SDV platforms that provide sophisticated operational efficiency features, predictive maintenance, real-time uptime optimization, and advanced energy management models. The work-first identity, especially in commercial vehicles, demands an SDV approach even more urgently than passenger cars. Why? Because commercial operators are obsessed with the total cost of usage, or TCU, which factors in everything: fuel, maintenance, driver wages, and, most importantly, vehicle uptime. To satisfy this market, you need complex SDV platforms that provide sophisticated operational efficiency features. Can a company rooted in mechanical development pivot quickly enough to adopt the rigorous R&D processes required for complex, compliant, bug-free software? We know that integrating functional safety quality processes like ISO 26262 takes a minimum of 3 years of focused development. GM's traditional, long product development cycles seem intrinsically too slow for this fast-evolving digital landscape.
That's a compelling argument regarding the demands of the commercial fleet market, and I agree that TCU is the absolute metric for success there. However, have you considered the evidence of successful safety-critical integration that is already occurring in their most iconic product line?
You mean Super Cruise?
Exactly. Chevrolet is proving it can blend the old utility with the new complexity. The Silverado 1500 High Country trim offers the available Super Cruise hands-free driving technology. This is not just a parlor trick. This is a safety-critical SDV feature relying on advanced GPS, LiDAR maps, and their extensive OnStar connectivity, operational on over 400,000 miles of roadway. This demonstrates an effective strategy. They're seamlessly blending traditional utility, durability, and towing with the highest end of SDV capabilities. Super Cruise, when combined with their long-standing telematics data, ensures the workhorse remains competitive by adding undeniable value where it matters most, reducing driver fatigue and increasing safety.
Respectfully, offering hands-free highway driving on a high-end passenger trim, which is what Super Cruise primarily is not the same as fundamentally architecting the vehicle around software for continuous operational optimization. That's what future fleet operators require. Super Cruise is a successful feature integration. A true SDV architecture is a complete structural redesign. A true commercial SDV should be able to deliver over-the-air updates that improve fuel economy or optimize charging routes automatically. Super Cruise is limited to pre-mapped highways. The fleet operator needs continuous diagnostics running across every street in sight. The strategic tension here is between adding high-tech features to a mechanical platform versus building a digital platform that manages hardware. GM is doing the former, while the market is rapidly demanding the latter.
Let's transition to the enormous cultural asset Chevy holds: brand loyalty. Chevrolet possesses immense, proven brand loyalty that often transcends mere product attributes. We see the canonical example in the Corvette. Corvette owners don't just buy a car, they exhibit fandom. They form subcultural communities where the interpersonal connection with the brand and other owners sustain enthusiasm far beyond conventional marketing. They view themselves as part of a family. This emotional capital provides significant brand resilience. This is key because it means consumers who see the brand as the heartbeat of America are often quicker to forgive the company for inevitable mistakes like supply chain hiccups or even recalls than they would be with a non-legendary brand. This loyalty provides a valuable, irreplaceable buffer during a complex, expensive, and inevitably error-prone transition. That resilience is a structural advantage that cash alone cannot buy.
That emotional loyalty is certainly powerful, but it's also exceptionally fragile if the fundamental connection is severed or betrayed. I am simply not convinced that this loyalty is an unlimited resource. The famous failure of New Coke proves that when consumers feel deceived or that the core promise of the brand has been broken, they won't hesitate to switch. You mentioned badge engineering earlier, and while you may reframe it as necessary financial engineering, the practice of rebranding the Tahoe as the GMC Yukon or Cadillac Escalade to achieve volume risks devaluing the core Chevrolet brand's unique identity in the long term. In the SDV era, consumers raised on continuously updating smartphones expect the vehicle itself to continuously evolve. Tesla, for instance, pushes functionality updates that enhance range or performance months after purchase.
Relying too heavily on nostalgic, emotion-based marketing risks positioning the brand as inherently outdated compared to competitors who constantly push over-the-air updates as their primary selling point. Consumers today expect an experience that gets better over time, not just one that reminds them of a better past. If the software is buggy or slow to update, that loyalty you prize will quickly dissipate.
The distinction, though, is that the emotional core of Chevrolet is utility and accessibility. It's the truck that gets the job done and the sports car that the working person can potentially afford. That core promise doesn't rely on being the absolute bleeding edge of digital technology. It relies on being reliable and capable.
Right.
The ability to blend that core reliability with advanced, if slightly less optimized, software features via Ultium is precisely the strategy that shields them. They use the cash flow generated by that loyalty and scale to fund the slow, methodical, compliance-heavy process of becoming an SDV company. This methodical approach is responsible, not slow.
Methodical can quickly become obsolete in the software world. We are talking about a generational shift in how vehicles are designed. It's the difference between bolting a new computer onto an existing engine and designing the engine, chassis, and software as one integrated system from the start. The inherent organizational complexity, the necessity of managing thousands of suppliers, decades of existing dealer relationships, and a culture that prioritizes mechanical robustness creates friction at every point of the SDV transition. The scale is a double-edged sword. It offers a deep well of capital, but it also creates immense organizational inertia. The critical uncertainty is whether the velocity of innovation required to master SDV development can overcome the cultural debt incurred by decades of legacy management.
I think the debate confirms that Chevrolet's intrinsic value, its legacy of scale, its deeply ingrained reputation for utility, and its undeniable customer fandom is not a weakness but a robust structural advantage. This powerful foundation gives General Motors the resources and the established market presence necessary to execute its ambitious, multifaceted technological transition across its entire diverse portfolio. That structural leverage is invaluable.
I agree that the capital provided by scale is essential. However, the inherent challenge for GM remains execution speed and overcoming the friction of legacy technology and culture. While scale provides essential capital, the financial and organizational demands of mastering SDV development and ensuring quality, integrating sophisticated software and hardware while guaranteeing safety and compliance, pose a continuous, multi-year uphill battle, where newer, more focused rivals starting with a cleaner slate have key advantages in velocity. The true test is whether GM's checkbook can outpace the cultural and technical debt accrued over the last century.
And both elements must succeed simultaneously. Chevrolet cannot abandon its core strength of established market dominance with reliable, affordable vehicles, nor can it fail to successfully adopt the complex software-first architectural revolution.
Precisely. The outcome remains contingent on management's ability to seamlessly integrate the historical heartbeat of America with the unforgiving, agile logic of the software age. That integration is the ultimate strategic dilemma.
We have dissected the core elements shaping Chevrolet's trajectory in this new mobility landscape, examining the powerful tension between historical scale and modern velocity.
And the issues we have explored, from brand resilience and the strategic necessity of truck dominance to the trade-offs of the Ultium platform and the complexity of SDV compliance, are deeply interconnected.
A full appreciation of Chevrolet's strategic future requires integrating these different perspectives.
This analysis provides context for further exploration found in the associated content, including the explainer, critique, deep dive, and infographic. The complete picture emerges only when all these different assets are considered together.